Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've never seen me before, my name's Katie and I talk a lot about books, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. It is time that we talk about all the books that I read in the months of September and October, and I figured today we could just sit on my couch and kind of have more of a casual vibe. I don't know why I never film here because honestly, it's super cute. So we're going to try this background out today. I kind of love it because I can just be chill and honestly kind of cozy because I'm just like chilling on my couch yapping about books to you guys. So I kind of love that. And that is really all I have to say. So let's just go ahead and start talking about the books. We're going to first go into my statistics. In total, I read 21 books in the past 2 months. And my genre breakdown is 4 romances, 4 fantasy, 3 graphic novels, 2 novellas, 2 historical fictions, 2 general fictions, 2 memoirs, 1 nonfiction, and 1 mystery. Honestly, just absolutely all over the place. Also on screen, I'm gonna have my average rating and how many pages that I read in total. But another thing that happened this past 2 months is I read a lot of books from the library. I read 6 books physically from the library, and that's not even counting how many from Libby or Hoopla I got, whether I listened to those or read those on my Kindle. And I just gotta say, I've been absolutely loving the library lately. It's just, it's the best. Anyways, I'm gonna be talking for quite a while in this video, so let's just go ahead and get right on into the first book that I read in the month of September, which was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Why did I put this off for so long? Oh my gosh, this book was excellent. V.E. Schwab, I love you. I want to read everything that you've ever written. Throughout the course of this book, you are following this woman named Addie who basically makes a deal with the devil and she becomes ageless and immortal. But the kick is, from the moment on that she makes the deal, nobody remembers her face, her name. She can't write down her memories. Everyone she's ever met before the deal doesn't remember her. There's no way for her to actually make a human connection. And throughout the book, you're kind of switching timelines. You're going through the past as to why she made this deal in the first place. And then after she makes the deal, you're going through it discovering how the deal works and where she's been throughout the years, the things that she's learned over time since she has been alive for so long. But then you're also in present day where she knows all of these things. And then one day, all of a sudden, somebody remembers her. I feel like Addie is so extremely wise and knowledgeable because she's lived for a very long time, but also because of that and the deal, she's been hurt so many times. And hearing about her not being able to make any connections with anyone, like basically for years and years and years, it was honestly just so sad. And the entire time, like, I just wanted to give her the biggest hug in the world. The ending of this had me sobbing my eyes out. It was so well done. The way that this book just completely snuck up on me as I was reading it, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna absolutely love this. Like, I was like, oh, it's good, you know, I'm enjoying it. The writing's really good. It's got this like dark gothic undertone. I was really liking it. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I love these characters so much, I'm sobbing my eyes out. I rated this a 4.75. Honestly, it might be a 5-star the more and more I think about it. It was so well done. Next, we have the last summer book that I read this year, and that is Problematic Summer Romance by Allie Hazelwood. Allie Hazelwood, girl, you've done it again. The way Miss Allie Hazelwood writes, I swear I am on page 5. I'm reading, and then I look back down at the page and I'm like, oh, I've read 100 pages. Ma'am, how do you do that? How do you feel like I'm not even doing anything? I just always get so immersed and I always want to keep reading. This book was really, really fun. A perfect summer romance. It's set in Italy and we're following our main character, Maya. Her brother is getting married and she's always kind of had a thing for her brother's best friend. His name is Connor. He's Irish. Period. Which, of course, because of that, I did have to check out the audio to this book. I'm glad I did. Let's just say that. It was just a very enjoyable time. You're basically going from past to present as well in this book. And this is also an age gap romance, so you're seeing them become closer and how their relationship changes, how much they care about each other. And I'm not even a fan of age gap, but for me, it really worked in this book. I really enjoyed it. Seeing them present day and having Maya do all of these like funny things that just like drive Connor completely mad. And I will say, Connor is a lot like the other brooding, absolutely obsessed with the female main character, male main characters that Allie Hazelwood writes, but I don't care. She writes them great, and I'm gonna eat it up every dang time. I really enjoyed this. This was super fun. Perfect for the summer. 4 stars. If you didn't read it this year, highly recommend it for next year. Then I ended up listening to Bossypants by Tina Fey. I've known who Tina Fey was for a very long time. I grew up watching her on SNL, but I recently watched the 4 seasons with her in it, and I just really enjoyed it. So I was curious about her memoir. I listened to it, and honestly, it wasn't my favorite memoir. You guys know I don't normally rate memoirs. It just kind of feels like a little weird to me to be rating something somebody's life experiences, but I do get a lot out of them and I really enjoy listening to them. I've read a lot of memoirs recently this year and I've just really fallen in love with the genre. I feel like there's so much to learn from them. And I'm kind of thinking it might just be because she's a comedian and she was still talking about the things that she was going through with her life, but I feel like it's just not my kind of memoir. So I don't know. I don't personally recommend this one, but if a more comedic memoir sounds like your vibe, maybe this would be good for you. Then I read In the Company of Witches by Orly Wallace. This was such a fun time. I read this during a 24-hour readathon and it's just like such a cute, cozy mystery. It was perfect for the fall. It's following this witch named Bryn, and her husband just recently passed away, and she's really been struggling with her powers. She hasn't been using magic as much, and she lives with her aunts, and they all run this bed and breakfast together, and then suddenly somebody at the bed and breakfast passes away, and they're trying to figure out why, what's going on, and Bryn's specific skill set is great for her to be able to figure out this mystery, but Bryn's having a really tough time trying to figure out her magic and get back into it, and if she even wants to do it, and through that, she's struggling with her grief and trying to overcome her grief and figure out how she even feels about her grief at this point. There's also another side mystery. There's this cozy small town of characters that you get to know too, who have a lot of different interesting personalities. This was also just written in a very like quirky way that I really enjoyed. There were definitely some things that happened that were like a little bit outlandish. It wasn't like the most realistic book ever. One thing about me though is that I absolutely love witches. I think magic is so cool, how different authors and even in like TV and movies, how they write and decide how magic works. It's just so interesting to me. I eat it up every single time. And I feel like in a lot of books where there's witches, I just expect more from their powers. I want them to use their powers more or do different spells, do different things. And I feel like this was one of the first books that I've read in a very long time. Honestly, maybe not in a long time. Maybe one of the first books that I read that got me on this kind of high of what I was really looking for, because Bryn and her aunts really use their magic. And I really enjoyed that. It added this like little whimsical feeling to the book. I really enjoyed it. Solid 4 stars. If you're looking for anything cozy and fun next fall, highly recommend. Then I ended up finishing the Prison Healer trilogy. I read The Gilded Cage and The Blood Trader by Lynette Noni. I read the first book last year and I really enjoyed it. It is about Kiva and she is the prison healer. She grows up in this prison. She really shouldn't have been there. It was all kind of like a misunderstanding. And the big plot in that book is that one of her patients ends up having to go through these trials and instead Kiva volunteers to go through them because her patient is really ill. So that was the first book. I really enjoyed it. It was like a solid like 4-star, 4.25. And then you get to these two. These were a level above that one and I really liked that one, but I loved these. That was like almost a prequel to these and Kiva's whole story with her family and how the kingdom really works and all of these like fine little details. This was like my perfect YA fantasy series. I loved it. It was 3 books, short and sweet. It got to the point, super fast paced, super fun. The subplot of romance in here is amazing. The found family, are you joking me? I would do anything for the character Tip in this book. He is just the sweetest little boy and I love him so much. If anything happened to Tip ever in this book, like I could feel my eyes watering up because I just wanted him to be okay. I just felt like their happy little family had to be a thing because if it didn't, again, would have sobbed my eyes out. Oh, we have a guest. Hello. Sorry guys, Melly really needs attention right now, but I honestly think that I would rate these last 2 books 5 stars. It was just so good. Like I'm gonna think about this series for a really, really long time. I just really enjoyed the characters, the storytelling. It was really fast paced. It was just the perfect YA fantasy for me at the right time. Then I ended up reading I Was Feeling Epic by Samantha Highfill. This is an oral history of the Vampire Diaries. I absolutely loved the Vampire Diaries growing up. Luke and I are literally in the process of rewatching it right now. I think I've watched sorry, Melly is cracking me up. She's only like a little bit in the frame. Anyways, I love the Vampire Diaries, the characters, the storylines. It really made me realize that I love fantasy as a genre, whether it's like TV or film or reading books in the fantasy genre. So reading this was really fun. I've also kept up with a lot of the actors over the years, so hearing them retell their stories while they were on set and little behind the scenes things was really interesting. If you liked the Vampire Diaries and it's a show that you're a fan of, I highly recommend this book. I thought it was really interesting and I do not read nonfiction really ever. So for me to be recommending a nonfiction book, that's a pretty big deal. Then I read Falling Like Leaves by Missy Wilson. This is a YA romance that is perfect for the fall. If you enjoy Lynn Painter's YA romances, I think you would enjoy this one as well. It's set in this small town and we're following our main character named Ellis, and she just recently moved to this small town with her mom. They're currently living with her aunt, and her aunt is super involved in like town festivities, and there's this whole fall festival with all of these events and things going on. So you're going through the motions with Ellis while she goes to school, through her everyday life, and while she's also going to these fall activities. And who's at all of these fall activities but the boy that she spent a lot of time with a few summers ago. His name is Cooper. Whenever they first meet, since everything that happened that summer, it's kind of like weird, kind of awkward. So Ellis is curious why. They end up talking and trying to figure things throughout the book. This was honestly just a fun, cute time. I don't think that I was particularly either in the mood for a YA romance, or maybe I'm just like kind of aging out of them. I think I'm gonna rate it like a 3.5, 3.75. I did think it was cute and fun, but I just don't know if YA romances are really my thing anymore. After that, I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is one that has been on my radar for quite some time, so I'm glad that I did end up reading it. I think that overall I was expecting to like this a little bit more than I did. End up liking it just because I had heard so many rave reviews, but it's basically about these two friends named Sam and Sadie, and you're following them throughout different things that happen in their life. You get to see them meet whenever they're kids, you get to see them reconnect as adults, you get to see them also, which is like the biggest part of this book, build virtually a video game empire and their own business, which I thought was really interesting. But I think the most interesting thing in this book was Sam and Sadie's friendship and their will they won't they attitude that they had with each other. I unfortunately, however, just didn't connect with these characters as much as I thought I was going to, and I also think that the writing was just a little bit choppy for some reason. But I've read a Gabrielle Zevin book before and I absolutely loved it, so I don't know, I just don't think that this one was for me. I thought that the video game stuff was interesting, but there were times where I just kind of felt myself getting bored. The talk of life in this though, and just different things that can happen throughout somebody's life, I thought were interesting, and it definitely had good themes. I feel like I would rate this like a 3.5. It was definitely not my favorite general fiction book, but I'm glad that I read it, and I also feel like the ending was kind of unsatisfying as well. Okay, and then I read Emmett and Lion volumes 3 and 4. These are so good. These are her unselected journals, so it's just our character Emma writing about her everyday life, and it's very character based. When I read the first one, I was a little bit confused, and also I was like, why do I care? But then I kept on reading and I was starting to understand it. And the more of the volumes that I've read, the more I've understood. And they are just so, well, one, fast-paced, because I believe they're all under or around 200 pages, but they're set in high society London in the Regency Victorian era, so think Bridgerton. But our main character, Emma, is so, like, witty and charming and humorous. Like, she is, like, the woman of that age who is honestly, like, she's a feminist icon for that time. You get to see her interacting with her friends, you get to see her family dynamics, which are super funny and honestly just, like, so silly at the same time, everything that's going on. There's this found family to it as well, and also the subplot of romance in here literally makes me want to giggle and squeal. She's also going through grief in a lot of different ways as well, which I find very insightful the way that she writes about it. They're just so good. The first and second I rated 4 stars. The third one I'm gonna rate 4.5, and this fourth one I genuinely think I'm gonna rate 5 stars. I love this series. I'm buying this series physically because I have been reading them on my Kindle on Kindle Unlimited, but they are just so good. They're the perfect palate cleansers. They're so entertaining. Like, I don't want to put them down. I love these characters, this series, just everything that happens. I just love it. So wildly entertaining. Please read this series. The other memoir that I ended up reading was Macy Neely's memoir. It's called I Told You So, and she is on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives show and also a part of Mom Talk. I really enjoy that show because I love reality TV, but Macy specifically has been through a lot in her life that she talks about on social media and on the show that I felt a calling, I guess, to read her memoir. I thought that it would be interesting to hear more in depth about her life because of everything that she's gone through, and it was interesting to hear about it, but I feel like the way that it was written wasn't as well done as it should have been, and I don't think that was a disservice to her and her storytelling. I think it's honestly the publishing company. What we're seeing a lot with publishers is that they're rushing things to print if they know they're going to get sold and they're going to be popular, and it's really disappointing that that happened, but I feel like the way that it was told was just not good. I guess. I don't know. I don't want to be mean, obviously, because this is her story and I still enjoyed hearing about it. But I think that the story was just a little bit choppy to me and it sounded more like her texting a friend all of this information than it being a fully fledged out story, unfortunately. Then I ended up reading If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. I'm sure you've seen this book absolutely everywhere. This has been like the fall romance book of fall 2025 that a lot of people have been reading. It's set in the 90s, which I thought was really fun. There were a lot of callbacks to 90s things. There was a Tamagotchi. They were going to a movie video store where you actually like go in person and pick out a movie to watch, which honestly, miss those places. That was a fun era. It's dual POV. We're following our two main characters, Michelle and Cliff. Michelle is going through a divorce. Her mom just recently passed, and because of that, she is going to run her parents' bed and breakfast in the small town of Copper Run, and her next door neighbor is Cliff. He has 2 kids. He's divorced. He's a baker, and him and Michelle are very like opposites attract type vibe, but she really needs a friend, so he becomes her friend. They end up becoming more, possibly. I don't know. You'll have to read the book. And then things just kind of go from there. I feel like this one was a little long for me, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was entertaining. It was cute. There's a dog in it, and the dog and Michelle have these like little conversations in Michelle's mind, which I really enjoyed and thought were cute. I think this is a solid 4-star romance. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it. Not in like absolute favorite, but if you're looking for a fun time this fall, I would recommend reading it. Also, it's not too late to read it either because it goes through like the beginning of fall into Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year's. So it's probably the perfect time to read it actually right now. The next book I read was If We Were Villains by ML Rio. Wow. This book has been so widely talked about, and I've wanted to read it for a long time. I was just a little nervous because it's like a dark academia book. I didn't know if that would be my vibe. I kind of felt like I was like, am I smart enough to read this? And oh my gosh, I'm so glad I actually took the chance. I was so entertained. I read this from the library, but I think I'm going to buy it physically because that's how much I enjoyed it. I think I'm in between a 4.75 and 5-star. I cannot stop thinking about this book. I will probably reread it eventually in a fall to come because you're following these 7 characters. And at first, whenever I was reading it, I was like, okay, a lot of characters going on, ML Rio. I don't know. Am I gonna like this? Am I gonna know who each person is? And then you just keep reading and you get to know them and who they are as individuals and how the dynamics work as a group, because it's just these group of theater students that are at this arts college, and there's 7 of them, and they only do Shakespearean theater, and the way that the Shakespearean theater is done and which shows they do directly correlates to like other things going on. It's like such a deeper idea than I was really even thinking. And I only really discovered that after I had read the book. And that made it even more interesting to me. And the ending was absolutely insane, but you're following them through their final academic year. And the things that happen, like honestly, I think there was 2 plot twists that I wasn't really expecting that I just really enjoyed and I was really shocked by. This was perfect to read in like peak fall too. The way that it's told through our main character Oliver's point of view is so interesting too, because he's almost like that fly on the wall character. Like he's not the best actor, the most charming, the biggest personality, but it honestly makes it better because he notices all these things about his other friends / castmates that make it even more of a deeper way to get to know them, because he's seeing all these things that not everybody would see with the bigger personality or being the best actor. And you guys, again, the ending was just like, it was so good. I highly recommend this book, and I really want to get more into dark academia. I know a lot of people talk about The Secret History, but if you have any other recommendations besides that, I would love to know. And then I read the second book in the Legendborn cycle, which is Bloodmarked. These are by Tracy Dion, and I really enjoyed the first one. I read it back in June, and being able to dive into the second one after knowing what I knew about the magic system, I feel like I enjoyed this world and these characters even more. We're following our main character Bree, and in the first one, her mom recently passes away, and she's enrolled in this early college program at UNC, which is the University of North Carolina. And she goes to a party one night and she ends up seeing some things that she probably shouldn't have seen. And then that gets her thinking about like secret societies, and she wants to join one. And there's so many different dynamics and things that are going on in this world that regular humans don't know about. And then Bree just like dives headfirst into it. And this magic system is heavily based on King Arthur. So it is a King Arthur retelling, which I found interesting. I don't know anything about King Arthur besides what's going on in these books. And in the first book, the magic system was kind of confusing and kind of a lot. And it still is a lot to wrap my head around. I ended up reading 20 pages of this and was entirely confused. And then I did a lot of research and looked things up to try and get a better understanding of it. And then I started again and I had a way better experience actually understanding understanding what I was reading. So if you are reading this series and you're confused, just know you might have to do a little bit of research on the side. But I actually love doing that research because it made me feel like a little detective, like I was Nancy Drew or I was playing a game of Clue, because I just want to know more about this magic system because it's so fascinating to me and it's very different from a lot of the other fantasy books that I've read. The exploration of racism in this one specifically, like the first one, yeah, but this one specifically is so deeply rooted. You like that word choice? If you've read this book, you'll understand. But it's so deeply rooted in so many things that our main character Bree has to go through. And it's so disgusting seeing these privileged white characters and how they treat Bree. And also their own like political system within the King Arthur realm and world is just really messy and weird. And it is crazy what they're willing to do just to keep Bree away from her destiny, let's say. I literally just want to yap about spoilers in this book, but I can't, of course, because this is no spoilers. So I'm trying really hard. But all the things that they're doing to try and keep Bree away from her destiny are so deeply rooted in racism. I hate them. If you hate somebody in a fantasy book that is like the evil characters, like, oh, sometimes it just feels so good because it's like making me want to go into this book and fight them as if I have powers. I rated this a 4.5. The ending, I was not expecting at all. It was so good. Like, read this series. And then I actually read the final book, or I guess novella, in the Natural series. So I finished the series, which is super exciting. The novella is actually at the end of this very last book, which is called Bad Blood. The novella is called 12. So that's why I ended up reading just this little novella at the end of the book. And it was enjoyable. I liked it. I really enjoyed this entire series. I think I would probably just rate it like 4 stars. Super fast paced, super fun. Just wanted to finish the series. I would recommend it if you've read the rest of the series. Otherwise, obviously, you probably shouldn't read it because it's going to give something away. But that's really all I have to say on that. It's YA Criminal Minds, the whole series is. If you haven't read it, I would recommend it for something fun if you're looking for a fast-paced YA mystery. Then I read quite literally the cutest graphic novels I have ever read. These are by Brie Paulson and they're a part of a little series. We have Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. I think I enjoyed Garlic and the Vampire more than Garlic and the Witch, and I'm still confused as to how to really rate graphic novels. And this is how I felt whenever I first started reading again as an adult too. With my ratings, like I would kind of just rate a lot of things 5 stars, and then like you start reading more and you understand your taste and you figure out your rating system a little bit more. Like, honestly, I would rate Garlic and the Vampire 5 stars. It was so stinking cute, and I know it was for kids, and while I was reading that, I kept like thinking about that, and I was like, oh my god, like I would love to read this with my kids one day. This is so stinking cute. Garlic and the Witch was good too. I'd probably just rate it like 4 stars, but Garlic and the Vampire, Garlic is just like an anxious little girly, and it, oh my gosh, it was so cute, and there were like so many things where I was like, oh my gosh, like if I had this as a kid, maybe I would have understood anxiety a little bit more, and it would have helped me. Possibly, I don't know. They're both just about this anxious little garlic going on these little adventures and trying to overcome her anxiety. And I just love them. They were super cute, super fast paced. You can read them super quick. So if you're trying to hit a reading goal, highly recommend. The art is super cute and well done. And I know I'm a 24-year-old woman and this was meant for kids, but they were so stinking cute. I highly recommend them no matter what age you are. After that, I read The Graveyard Shift by ML Rio because I really enjoyed If We Were Villains. This is more of a novella. I think it was only like, let me check on Goodreads actually before I say something that's not true. Yeah, it was only 150-ish pages, 144. I read this because I was really searching for the vibe of If We Were Villains, so I was really excited to read this, and I feel like I just didn't enjoy it that much. I think it was just because it was shorter, less time to really get to know our characters and understand the story more. But it's about these people who all are like night shift workers, and they all have really bad insomnia. So these people do not sleep, and it's over one night too. And I also find that whenever that happens, I don't enjoy a story as much, but they all meet up in this graveyard, and they've like talked and connected, and one night something interesting happens, and there's just like an open grave and they're kind of like questioning it, and then you get all the characters' different perspectives like 2 or 3 times throughout the book, which I thought was an interesting way to tell it, and you're slowly uncovering this mystery with them. I think it was fun for like spooky season. I think this is just one of those times where it's like it was a novella, you know, and like it was good for what it was. I'd honestly just rate this 3 stars, but then I read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Oh my gosh. I know so many people have talked about this for absolute years and have loved it so much. And I agree. This was so good. This is like a 4.75 or a 5 star for me. I don't know what's going on these past 2 months, but I'm like back in my reading game, guys. I've been reading so many good books. We are following our main character, Mika, and she's a witch. And throughout her entire life, she's been told that witches cannot gather because it's too much power. It's really dangerous for them to gather. Grew up an orphan. She really didn't have a lot of people who loved her, or she's been used by other people for her powers. So she's been going through a lot, honestly, her entire life. And then one day, she ends up taking up this job to teach these 3 young witches how to be witches. And while she's there, she ends up meeting the other caretakers that are there, and they're just the loveliest people. And you just keep on reading and reading, and there's so many magical elements of Mika using her powers and her teaching the kids, which I really enjoyed whenever a witch actually uses their powers. The found family in here was so well done. Mika going through her struggles, I found so relatable. I really enjoyed how you're going through these things. Obviously, she's a witch and that's not real, but then you have so many real elements. The way that the story was told, Sango Mandana did such an amazing job with the storytelling. It was so whimsical and fun and quirky, but it also had so many real elements. Like, it was the perfect fall romance, and I wasn't even in the mood for a romance. I love how it wasn't all about the romance too. Those are my favorite romance books because they feel more real to me, even though, again, she was a witch and obviously that's not real, but it was just so well done. And then the storyline with the kids and the found family of that part just in and of itself too, and Mika finding people who really care and love for her, and her like taking the plunge that, like, yeah, she might get hurt, but that she goes for it anyways. And it's just so good. Like, I loved these characters. I loved how fun and whimsical it was. It was so perfect. I loved it. And I was just not expecting to love this book as much as I did, but there will be a physical copy being bought by me, or I'm asking for it for Christmas or something, because I want to reread this soon. This is also set in the UK, and I just love things set in the UK. The way that it was written, it just felt so cozy, like a warm hug. Read this book. Like, you can still read it now because they're also going through a ton of like later in the year holidays. So this is not just a spooky season book. If you like witches and you want to read this and you haven't yet, do it. And then the final book that I read was a graphic novel. I ended up reading this on Halloween, and it is called Pumpkinheads. This is by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. Following these two friends who have worked at the pumpkin patch for a very long time, and next year they're going to college, so they're never going to work at the pumpkin patch again. So this is their last day ever working together. And they're kind of reminiscing about that, but the main guy character, he really wants to talk to this girl, and it's his last chance to talk to her. So the main girl character is helping him go on this adventure, and they skip out on work, and their main goal of that work day is to actually get him to talk to the girl that he's had a crush on for like 4 years. He's just been really scared to talk to her, and I thought that was cute. You're going through the entire pumpkin patch too, and they're like eating all these treats. You're getting to see all of the atmospheric things that you can do at the pumpkin patch, like going to make s'mores. There's a corn maze. There's all these different things, which I thought was fun, and it was perfect to read on Halloween too, and it was really quick and easy because it was a graphic novel. What happened at the end, I wasn't expecting, and I feel like I just didn't enjoy this one as much as I really wanted to. I think that I would probably rate it like a 3-star, maybe a 3.5. Again, I'm kind of having trouble rating graphic novels because I haven't read as many of them, but it was definitely a fun read, but not my favorite graphic novel read. And that is the last book that I read in the past 2 months of September and October. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, hearing me talk about all the books that I read. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts on those books down below in the comments, and we can talk about them there. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you guys can follow me on all my socials if you'd like. They're always linked down below in every single video. If you watched until this far in the video, go ahead and comment down below the orange or the brown heart so I know who the real ones are who watched until the very end. And I think that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I just yap on my couch about books. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Thank you so much once again for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Classic Melly hitting me in the face with her tail. Peace.